Welcome to What CEOs Talk About. Do you wonder what CEOs talk about behind closed doors? How they bring their vision to reality? How do they overcome and succeed through adversity? We share that and so much more with each episode. Now, let's get started with the show.
Good day, everybody. My name is Martin Hunter. I am the host of What CEOs Talk About, where we translate strategy into frontline operations. Greg, thank you very much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. I'm excited to be here.
Before we start, a word from our sponsors. Greg, do you know anybody who has sold their business?
I do. Yeah, I know a few people. I do know a
few people. Mm-hmm. Has it been in your view, was it mostly good experience or bad experience?
Ooh, wow. Run the gamut. Some good and some not so good, right? And I probably have had a few that have been not so good. So, yeah, been through a few.
So why not so good? Let's go in details. Why, what's your opinion of why did the purchasing, the transaction, M&A, buyout strategic did not happen well?
I think that when it doesn't go well, it's because the company selling has unaligned management team and shareholders, right? It's when there's sort of not a lack of clarity from the selling side on what the expectations are, what the wants are, and at the end of that, nobody gets what they want, which is the worst possible outcome, right? So I think that's definitely a big lesson learned through prior transactions. Getting great alignment within your own organization before you start talking to another one.
That's exactly it, right? And the successful one is the ones that have, I'm assuming from what your experience, what you're telling is the opposite spectrum is when it does go well, there's good alignment. There's too many people that think that doing mergers and acquisitions or buying an organization, it's very system-based. What accounting system do you use? What accounting UI system do you use? And they think that economies of scale come from just simplifying processes. But you've got rooted cultures. You've got behaviors that even if you're buying two similar companies or you're merging two similar companies, in the same industry, outputting very similar products, the cultures are very different. So without a good operational leadership methodology of both behaviors and systems and processes, it's very hard to create that singularity of purpose to be able to get to where you need to do. So that's what Urgio really does good as an integration management office, either pre-purchase, post-purchase, scaling up, merging and acquisition. So that IMO key component is really bringing in a third party to really help both organizations really merge. I say two, but usually M&A, sometimes you got 4, 5, 6. That's even adds a little bit more complexity. So thank you very much, Urgio, for sponsoring this episode with Greg. And Greg, thank you very much for being on the show. What is the title of today's show? I love it.
Yeah, so the title of today's show is Tenacity.
I just see a dog holding on and just not letting go. That's my visual of that. Yeah. Before we go into that, Greg, can you please tell the listeners and the viewers, tell us context on who the guest is brings out a lot of value. So where kind of how you were raised, where you're born, kind of your story of to where you were a wee little baby to where you are today.
Sure. Sure. Well, definitely excited to share some of this. So, Greg Moser, currently President and CTO of a company called ShipCalm based here in Southern California in San Diego, actually. And in fact, that's even where my story started. Born and raised here in San Diego, sort of grew up in a awesome household, older brother, older sister, loving, wonderful parents, both architects. And I kind of grew up as a surfer, right? Sort of surfer skate kid in the streets of Southern California, right? So that's certainly
the dream. Typical, man. That's what when people watch TV, that's what they say. Southern California, that's what you do.
That's it, right? So grew up with that lifestyle. Lots of sunshine, lots of time at the beach, and great. But my my story starts really early. Even my professional story starts really early. I had an older brother and an older sister, and they are exceptionally gifted and talented individuals. Give you some context. My brother's currently a professor at Brown University, right? So he got his PhD from Harvard, now is a professor at Brown, Chinese history, right? So total brainiac.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And then, my sister is no slouch either, right? She's getting a perfect score on the SATs in high school and just one of those absolute sort of rock star academics. And here I come along and I'm this like surfer, skater, want to hang out with my friends, grew up dyslexic, so really struggled to learn how to read. Okay, yeah. So the story there, Martin, right? So
yeah.
That was a challenge, and that was certainly a challenge in our household. And I think at a really early age, it put just absolutely massive chip on my shoulder to say, look, just because my brother and my sister are so much smarter than I am, like I'm smart too. And I need to go and prove that to the world, prove it to my parents, prove it to myself. And that forged a lot of sort of the directions and where I went. In middle school, I started, I had a really fortunate experience. My uncle was actually worked at AOL in the early days, and I think it was my 12th birthday. He came by and he had printed out a stack of sheets on the different tags in HTML. Like 40 sheets of all the different tags in HTML printed out, handed this to me as my birthday present. And then he sat down with me next to the computer, opened up a notepad. We typed some of these tags into the notepad, hit save, opened it up in a web browser, which was like this brand new thing that I had gotten experience with. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I just made that web page. This is flipping incredible. Where do I get more pages like this? And he's like, it's all here. It's all on the internet. Just start searching, right? And so that's what I did. I started searching the internet and sort of taught myself to code at a really young age, way before sort of I knew that was going to end up being a valuable skill later on in life, right? Had a lot of fun with it. Started my first e-commerce store in high school, and really just doubled down on it. I growing up as a surfer and skater and always pushing the envelope with my parents, I spent a lot of time grounded. But the one thing, yeah, it's true. But the one thing my parents always let me do was, hey, look, if you're in your room and you want to fiddle with the computer and teach yourself stuff, go right ahead. That's probably going to be valuable for you later on in life, right? And so I got to spend a lot of time in my room by myself with this computer, fiddling away. So that's really where the story began. And then at the tail end of high school, I was working full time in a surf shop, and they wanted to start selling their products online. So I built them an e-commerce store to do that. It turned out to be quite successful, and out of that, I started a marketing agency. Did a bunch of SEO in the very early 2000s, sort of digital marketing, and then transitioned into helping brick and mortar retailers, like sort of more traditional brands, as they were making this transition from mall stores into online selling. I had some great opportunities to partner with companies like that and help them really digitize themselves sort of in the mid 2000s. And then after that, I realized, I'd always been sort of implementing other people's software in the e-commerce space and had really built a bit of an expertise around it. But there were some challenges with the existing software that was out there. So I went to work. Actually, I had a client that was a bicycle retailer here in Southern California. And, they were selling bicycles. These are triathlon bicycles. They were selling them all over the globe and doing a decent business. But Amazon had come in. They really needed to figure out what their Amazon strategy was. They really needed to figure out how to grow their online sales and also still run their physical brick and mortar operations, but trying to sort of blend these two worlds of the physical and the digital. And I went through this remarkably long process to select like what was going to be the perfect software to make this company, thrive. Went to implement it. And the thing basically just didn't work. And by the way, this was software that the budget for implementing the software was $50,000. I convinced the owners of this company to spend $100,000 because this was the right stuff. And it just didn't work, right? It was a horrible, horrible experience. And I have all this egg over my face. And so there I am going, what am I going to do? This is a problem. And I hunker down in the back of this bike shop for months. And I just start coding, and I started coding a software platform.
Back to your grounding days, right?
Totally, right?
I'm gonna ground myself.
I'm just gonna ground myself, and I'm just gonna fix this, right? Like I've got egg all over my face. Like this company, I just did something that really put this company in jeopardy here, right? Like what am I gonna do? Yeah. And I just sat down and said, okay. And it was sort of a crazy time. I was putting in, 10, 12, 14 hours a day, grinding away, trying to build some software that would do the things that I promised the other software was going to do. And, that really became the genesis for a tool, which was one of the first sort of headless commerce platforms called Slatwall that I founded and originally founded even as an open source project. And I ran that and rolled out the bicycle retailers implementation, did it for a few other companies. That business, that platform turned into a much larger operation. I ended up selling it to a group out of Massachusetts, stayed on with them for a number of years and really serviced sort of the mid-market and enterprise space. A lot in sort of publishing. So we did the subscription engines for Inc. and Fast Company magazine. Oh, wow. A lot of wine retailers. We did all of Sotheby's wine futures. So all sorts of kind of weird esoteric areas to apply commerce on the internet, right? But I would have never dreamed that that's kind of where I was going to end up. When I started this stuff, but that was certainly lessons learned in putting your head down and just keep going when things get tough. Put your head down and keep going, right? And so anyway, I ran that for a number of years, and then in 2017, having my first kid. His name's Holden. He's now 5, and in the past business, I was traveling all over the globe, and I said it's time to hunker down and set some roots back in San Diego. And so, left that opportunity and started ShipCalm, which is where we are now. And I get the pleasure every day because, honestly, what I'm really passionate about is helping entrepreneurs. That's why I love things like this podcast and other organizations I get involved with. I love sharing stories, hearing from others. I've gotten so much wisdom over the years, and that's really what I get to do here at ShipCalm. We service small and mid-sized businesses in the e-commerce space, and it's a space that I've known for 20 years. And so we literally, some of our customers, we ship their very first order for them, right? And so we do a lot of coaching, a lot of hand-holding, and a lot of partnership, all the way up to folks doing $100 million a year online, right? And kind of getting to see that breadth. So, it's a lot of fun for me, what we get to do every day. I'm inspired by all the people that work here, and I'm exceptionally inspired by all of our customers, right? And it's kind of fun. Our mission is just to make our customers more successful. And so when you get out of bed every day going like, hey, my job today is just to try and help that person's company, be a bit better today than it was yesterday. It's an easy thing to get out of bed for, especially when it's 72 degrees outside and sunny. So I live a very blessed life, so that's a little bit of where I came from and where I am today.
For those who are watching, you'll notice that I'm wearing a flannel shirt and a hat because it is friggin' cold in Vancouver, British Columbia. We were out of power, and that's, living in the wilderness, up in the mountain. That's what happens. But it is the middle, past the middle of May. I should be wearing shorts and t-shirt. I should be at 72. I despise you. No, just kidding.
Fair enough. But I'm also a big snowboarder, so you guys have the massive leg up on me during the winter. I'm trying to get up to Whistler on a regular basis. So yeah, you guys get
4 major peaks within driving driving distance of my house. My kids absolutely love it. I'm done my skiing years. It's like kids are way faster than I am. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have a hot toddy. I just put a little bit of rum in my coffee and life is good.
Yeah. A little Irish coffee, a little hot toddy, all good.
Yeah. All is good. All is good. All right. You mentioned it a little bit before. Grinding, tenacity. What's in the title? Why did we choose the title Tenacity?
Yeah, it's something that I've reflected on a lot lately. I've really realized that I have these nuances about myself. One of my strongest assets is I have this crazy ability to just get laser focused on something and shut out the rest of the world and go, right? And that that sometimes, for my loved ones and those around me, sometimes that can be a bit off-putting. I'll leave it at that. This is sort of the polite way of saying it, right? But that I've found, and just sort of looking back over my life and my career, I've found that sometimes these periods of immense focus created great opportunity for me. And then I've also thought back, especially recently, when I've hit some rough patches, I've really started drawing on kind of the worst rough patches I've ever been on before, right? In these moments where, I'll give you a perfect example. We in the very early days of this business, we had to move buildings, and we run big buildings, right? These things have got, we got hundreds or thousands of pallets inside of these buildings of people's goods and stuff. Moving is not fun, right? It's not enjoyable by any stretch. Like, you think moving your 1,000 square foot apartment sucks? Try moving, 150,000 square feet. It really sucks, right? So, we had been running this startup. Were like out of cash. Our landlords were kicking us out of one building. We had found another building in a crazy small period of time, and these aren't easy things to find. We found a great new partner and landlord, and we just didn't have resources. It was very early days, and we had been very bootstrapped. And I remember, we got this local trucking guy who worked in the trucking space to partner with us on this, and I just remember this period, and I think it was all in like 19 or 20 days, and I'm a coder, right? Like, my background is in writing software. It's not in, tremendous physical labor, right? But I just remember 20 days nonstop. I'm putting in 20 to 22 hour days, literally going home for 2 or 3 hours. And then I'm back here on a forklift, moving pallets, packing boxes, cleaning, literally nonstop, right? And the whole while going, there's like no money in the bank account, right? Like, those investor calls need to happen next week, but I don't know if I can, because if we don't get these people's product out of this building and into this building, who knows what's going to happen to it. It was just one of those absolutely chaotic and crazy moments in my life. And we just kept telling each other, like, we're going to get through this. We have to get through this. There is no retreat, right? It's burn the ships, right? It's only way to move is to move forward. We just have to go, you have to do this. And I think, when you get the opportunity to speak with other entrepreneurs, I think you'll find lots of entrepreneurs have similar stories like this, right? Where they've met these moments where it's sort of like, look, this is just do or die. We just have to move forward. We have to keep going. And then when I reflect on that, that's now become this tremendous, sort of touchstone of strength, right? Which is to say, sort of any adversity that hits, you sort of go like, yeah, but is this as bad as that time? No, this is going to be bad, right? This is going to be hard. We might have to, make some difficult decisions. We might have to have really uncomfortable conversations at a board meeting. But the show will go on, and we can go on. And when I reflect on all of that, I've realized that sort of the lesson is tenacity, right? It is this sort of sense of, when you're faced with the highest degrees of uncertainty, it's the moment where you need to just trust and believe and put your head down and get laser focused, right? Because it's also, I'll say, I had my very first company, I reached one of those moments and I tapped out. I totally tapped out. And honestly, in hindsight and in reflection, I probably didn't need to, but I was young and I was frightened and I was embarrassed and I was scared and anything and everything you could imagine. And I reflect on that now because, if I was met with the same sort of obstacles that I had then, instead of going to the bar and drinking away my sorrows, I just put my nose down and work through it, right? And so I think that if there's one thing that I've decided I want to share with people is that it's okay, right? That there is, just staying tenacious and like that sort of scene of a pit bull just latched onto something and like I'm not going to let this thing go, right? Is important, and it's always darkest before the dawn. So
that is true. That is I've been around the world, and when I love the sunrise. And you are absolutely 100%. I was in the military. The coldest part of the night is just before sunrise. And you've been up all night, you're on duty, and you're like, oh, this sucks so much, either in the mining industry and then you see the sun come up and you see this, okay, so I made it through. It's not that there is seasons to business. Now I wanna show the viewers and really pinpoint for the listeners. When Greg says tenacity, it's not spinning his wheels. Like he said, you have to be laser focused. That means that you have to have a plan. You're not just putting your head down and moving boxes to move boxes. You have to have a plan. Yeah. And so let's be very precise in prioritizing what laser focus means, right? It means that, okay, you believe in the vision, you believe in the direction, you've made the plan out, you believe in the plan, you're executing at the plan. And I think Arnold Schwarzenegger says, just because you're failing or just because you're struggling, you're not necessarily failing.
That's right.
And I think that's the tenacity component of it.
No,
right?
that's exactly right. And it's because what will happen. I mean, look, what happened in that whole in the episode I talked about just a moment ago, right? Like there's also a lot of people that will try and knock you off your course, right? There's a lot of feedback that you're going to get that's going to say, you can't do this, stop. Don't do that. Move over here. Focus on this other shiny object. Just throw in the towel. It's not worth it, or whatever, right? You're going to get all sorts of stuff. And it's the similar thing, with fundraising, right? It's sort of like you get a couple of no's and, all of a sudden you can change your whole direction. It's like, no, you didn't need to change your direction. They just weren't looking for what you were selling at that time, and, I actually, all right, another, I'm so good at embarrassing myself apparently, but okay. One other little,
Go ahead.
So I got this lesson really early. So in high school, all right, you got to imagine, right? Bleached blonde hair, surfer kid. My mom thought since I wasn't going to be an academic like my brother and my sister, maybe I could have a career in Hollywood, right? So she got me, acting and modeling lessons, and I started acting and modeling and going up. And this is in, my sort of, I don't know, I was maybe 14 years old or something like that, right?
Okay.
And I got an agent in Los Angeles, and my mom is such a trooper. It was crazy. She literally would drive me like 3 days a week up to auditions in LA. And for those who don't know the geography, it's about a 2-hour drive each way. And then the audition is like, if you get a minute and a half with the casting director, it's a big win, right? Yeah. And I remember going into this, and early on, I got an agent who would put me out on these casting calls, and she sat me down and said, listen, Greg, I'm going to put you on 100 casting calls, and you're going to hear 100 no's. And it has absolutely nothing to do with how you acted or how you looked. It has everything to do with what they were looking for, how they woke up on the side of the bed that day, right? And so sort of like that coupled with, my mom's tenacity of being willing to stay focused and drive me up to these things ended up allowing me to get a couple things that I realized, like, look, I'm not a model, I'm not an actor, right? I'm a better coder. Keep me behind the screen, right? I'm not a front man. But anyway, I think the lesson is still the same, which is, yes, tenacity is really, really important, but it's tenacity with that focus, right? With a very clear, this is what I'm doing, and I'm mentally preparing myself to hear no 100 times, so that way when you hear no the 6th time, you're like, well, only 94 more no's. Okay. That's it. All right. Oh, only 93 more no's. That's all I got to get, right? It just changes your whole attitude towards what you're doing, and I don't know. It's been positive for me, at least.
It is. So 2 tools that I think we should share. One is every morning I get up and I only put 6 things on my to-do list. I go, must be done, needs to be done, wants to be done.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Love it.
And I pick 2, one professional and one personal. So the personal ones tend to be very similar day in, day out, but the business ones are always must, need, and want. Yep. And hopefully the wants get to become the needs, and hopefully become the must needs to get done. But every day, that's all I do. And they say, what? You only do that? And I was like, I am laser focused that day. My day is not complete until this is achieved. I must achieve this.
Yeah, no.
I need to achieve that, and I want to achieve that. So I give myself, every day, I give myself a score. Did I hit 75%? Did I hit 50%? Then I hopefully I don't hit 30% too often. But then I always, and instead of saying was I successful or not successful, I was like, am I ahead or am I behind?
Right.
Because life is a cycle, right? If you put too hard barriers, you become, in my opinion, your superpower can be your kryptonite. Then you become too tenacious on the process and not tenacious on the task. Oh, I only hit 50% yesterday. I have to hit better today. So just don't overload yourself with the KPI, more with the how you get it done. So I think that's the number 1 tool. The number 2 tool, I think, or the Colonel Sanders, is something that I think is a clear demonstration of tenacity. Like, he had his secret recipe for 20 plus years, and he went knocking, and it was only when he was like 65 or 60s, in his 60s, that KFC actually sunk in and was a thing. So you want to talk about tenacity. Now, some people might say, well, 20 years of ringing the same bell, maybe that's not the way. In today's day and age, it might be different. And I want to make sure that you put yourself a milestone, because I think too many entrepreneurs go, work hard, and they forget that tenacity, the way that Greg is saying it is it's like a sprint.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to be tenacious for a certain amount of time. You kind of have to put the line in the sand and say, I'm going to be tenacious. I'm just going to be laser focused. But at the end of it, if I don't achieve this by this date, you have to go, hey, listen, I have to really reevaluate the plan. And, what was I thinking truly about reassessing that? Because tenacity, although very important, without clear direction is
I think that's a fantastic point, right? You do need to, I certainly, and I don't know if it's just my personality type, but it's cyclical for me, right? There's a clear beginning and a clear end to these periods of time where you're like, where I'm sort of like, I need to go into the sprint. I think you described it really well, right? And I need to stay laser focused, and I need to be willing to hear 100 no's, and I need to just give this my all. Because but then I think the point that you made is 2 things. One, I really always love defining exactly what success looks like before one of these periods, right? So that exactly what success is, right? And so when you've gotten there, and you also know when you haven't gotten there, right? When you've missed, right? And I love time boxing things, right? I love saying I need to have this by this moment in time, and I'm going to I'm going to do that and I'm going to push forward. And then I have a deadline here. I think the key though is, you can set those things for yourself. You can set a deadline. You can kind of say, hey, this is what success looks like for me. And then just sort of float around for that period of time, because the thing you want to do, everybody is, trying to knock you off your block, right? Everybody is trying to get you to stumble. Maybe you don't put as much energy into it. When you have put laser focus and you have gripped onto that thing for the entirety of that time period, and you come to the other end and you're like, look, nobody's buying my secret sauce, right? Actually, I'm not Colonel Sanders, right? You can reflect and go, well, I gave it my all, right? Like, I know that this wasn't because I didn't try hard enough. I know that this wasn't because, I didn't make enough phone calls. It's like, no, I did all of that. So I now know that I need to reflect and go, did I make a is there a lesson to be learned here? And do I need to redirect my focus and my energy?
Absolutely. I think that's the key thing, is not blindly just, there's too many times, especially in certain organizations, like entrepreneurial organizations, where they go, or you see on social media, you go, don't, what do they say all the time? Don't overthink it, just work hard. Well, there's a Japanese saying that goes, how's it go again? It goes, vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is a nightmare. So that's a good one, right? So you're dreaming of something, yeah. But if you're doing something without a dream, you're just creating a nightmare. And there's too many times when I say that to a company founder or owner, and they go, "Oh," and you're like, "Yeah," it sinks in, right? Totally. And you go, "Oh, I don't want to call you a moron, but I think you just realized what you're doing."
But
So
no, I was just going to say,
Go ahead.
I think one other thing I just wanted to add was, it's I think this is a really important lesson. I think it's something that's been really helpful for me. So I love sharing it with people. But I think the other piece of this is, especially as a CEO, right? It's one thing, and I think that's, this has been a superpower of mine and a strength of mine that I've had in my career. And what I'm really now trying to do is, we have a larger organization. I've got 80 people working here now, right? We're adding new employees on a regular basis. And so then the question becomes, okay, so, Tenacity is this value that I have, this sort of like, pick a North Star and go and grind through it. How do you inspire your team and the people around you? Or how do you hire for, people that have this sort of innate ability to stay tenacious, right? And how do you propagate that down, right? And how, because that now becomes a challenge, because it's one thing when it's like, look, I'm biting down on this and I'm working because at the end of the day, I'm going to make $100 million selling my company, right? Well, try getting that same level of, passion behind somebody who's like, look, man, you pay me $20 an hour. I'm just here for a job, right? I'm not excited to, move pallets for, 22 hours a night, right? And so that becomes, a big part of it as well, is inspiring around these things so that you can find ways to motivate.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the key thing that we do, performance management against the values. So we always create what we called a behavioral-based inventory. So what that means is that your code of conduct within your organization is defined by behaviors that are represented in the value. So, for example, our number one value at Urgio is get shit done. Well, what does that look like? Right? And so we associate key behaviors that we want to hire for, that we want to evaluate performance and fire as well. The second one is demonstration of care. Like, we truly and honestly care about our clients as if it was our own business. What does that mean? Because care can be for your company, could be for my company, for anyone. So you define those behaviors against, and you hire against them, you fire against them, you do performance management against them. And I think what Greg mentioned that we don't really talk often about is subcultures. within the organization. If you've got a warehouse employee that's getting paid $20 an hour, he don't give a shit. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, he's like, yeah, rah, 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 ShipCalm, love you guys. There's different ways. There's profit sharing. There's a whole bunch of things that can induce excitement. But is that person really going to have the same level of dedication on $20 an hour versus your executive team who's like all bought in? Don't be afraid to have subcultures and thinking that, oh, this is what I want to implement within the business. On the tech side, okay, maybe. But in most organizations, there's different levels of commitment within the organization that are just, and Tyson Foods was one of our clients. And the level of commitment from somebody in Carthage, Mississippi, who is a chicken processor who's getting paid that minimum wage does not have the same commitment as the general manager of, I think being sensitive
critical to all of that, right, and being real with all that. I think the one thing that the $20 an hour line worker, really resents is somebody coming down and trying to give sort of the same type of, values pitch or speech that they give to their executive team. They're like, get out of here, right? Like, I don't like. Give me Friday off. Stop with this nonsense, right? It's just I think it's important to be really cognizant of the audience, and and I loved what you said about, I think this is honestly it's a mistake that I made in my career, is not understanding how important values are, both in defining them. And I think it's something, and I think organizations are getting better and better at it these days. But I think I think really identifying the people in your organization, like put them up on a chart and say, why do you like that person? Well, they get shit done. That's why I like them. Like, well, maybe that should be a value of ours, right? Maybe getting shit done should be a value because we really like Bob, and Bob is always getting shit done, right? And that's cool, right? That's what we did here, and it was really, really helpful. We just started putting all the names of the employees, the whole leadership team threw names up of the employees, and these are mostly, $20 an hour folks. So, well, what do we like most about that? Well, gosh, they always. We've got so actually we embody the sort of tenacity thing here with this concept of our value is can't have no in your heart, right? So there's this. So there's this moment, because as you can imagine, there's all these times, right, where the truck pulls up to the back of the dock, the person opens up the truck and look inside, and it's like, oh my God, all the pallets fell over. There's like 2,000 ping pong balls on the back, and I've got to pick up ping pong balls for the next however long, or whatever the horrible work thing that, and they need to look over at their supervisor, and you hope that the supervisor has gotten to that place of like, look, I get it, but we're here to do a job, and you can't have no in your heart. So let's go, right? And then all of a sudden, just like in that little moment, it takes it from this, all right, we're going to go storm the hill, right? We're going to take this, we're going to go take the castle, and we're going to just feel good about the fact that we accomplished picking all this crap up, or whatever the horrible thing is. So anyway, I just wanted to double down on what you said. I think it's just so spot on.
Hey, the one thing that most people don't realize is that every human being at any level, from the Queen to the President of the United States to the garbage person who picks up, and we always underestimate, everybody needs three things in life emotionally. Do you hear me? Do you see me? And do I matter? And so by the little scenario you put together, the supervisor looks at the worker and he says, I see you, right? I hear you, like, oh shit, 1,000 fucking ping pong balls are everywhere. And yes, you do matter. I will help you out. I will support you. I will do whatever it takes to get this job done. So I think regardless if you're getting paid $20 to $17 an hour, if you fulfill those three emotional needs for an employee, you're in. And same thing like you said, right? Instead of you coming down from the top and saying, "Yay, rah, rah, rah," everybody gets, a free dinner card at Fridays, TGIFs, Like,
Right.
I don't give a shit. Ask him, ask the individual. Hey guys in the warehouse, we've really been good with our KPIs. We've got lean management going on, and our roll rate or month to month, hourly to rate, whatever. You guys have definitely helped transform the business. And here's the result of that transformation. This equates to a certain reward. And you go, okay, what do you guys want to do with it? So in the mining industry, it's very common to have safety initiatives. So what happens is that you create a very adverse reporting structure, because you say, okay, if you're hitting your safety targets, here's $200 more a month. Here's $200 more a month. Here's $200 more a month. So then they get addicted to that $200. So when somebody does get injured, they go, Greg, I don't know, you chopped your finger off, and they go, hey, shit, Greg, I don't want you to report that. I'll give you $100 because I'll lose my $200. We'll all lose. So it's counterintuitive. So anyways, in this mine, we change things around and say, okay, you guys are going to get your Christmas and summer bonus. That's for sure. You're going to get that in regards to performance. I mean, don't get me wrong. Safety was a key component of it, but we weren't incentivizing for it. We're saying, hey, you're going to get a Christmas bonus if we hit our targets. Great. The other quarters, spring and fall, we're going to take that money and you're going to do something with it. Either we're going to go shooting skeets, play golf, and one of the guys said, hey, listen, my neighbor's kid has got leukemia and he's at the hospital. How about we donate it? And everybody, all these big ass miners, hardcore, said, yeah. So what they did is now they had pictures of the kids that they helped with that money in the mine. So when somebody was doing something stupid, cutting a corner safety-wise, they'd get slapped in the head and say, hey, listen, you moron, if you don't think safe, we won't be able to get the money to be able to pay for these kids.
That is so cool, right? And that is so much. Yeah, that is really what drives human beings, right? Like that's what drives all of us, right? It's, yeah, man, what an awesome story. Yeah, I love that. That's so cool. Yeah.
Right? Isn't it amazing? By just changing the mindset, right? Saying, how do you participate? How do you create? And I want to bring it back to tenacity. How do you keep people being tenacious on their day-to-day job, right? How do you keep, without being, super crazy sprinting, all hands and stuff like that, but how do you keep somebody who has to deal with a truck full of ping pong balls, for example, and it happens 3 days in a row? On the fourth day, he's going to say, what the fuck, man? Yeah. So how do you, he or she, how do you keep that person tenacious to saying, okay, this is worth it?
No,
okay, I get it.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, right? It's something that we spend a lot of time sitting around thinking about because there's not an easy equation for it necessarily, right? And there's realities associated with all of this stuff. But I think, the piece that you described, and certainly the part that we always lean on, is two things. One, I love always sort of being like, hey guys, here's a pool of money. You choose how to spend it, right? Because that creates an exciting workplace. It gives them something to chit chat about all day long, and like maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, and they end up picking things. This is the subculture piece, right? All of a sudden, a subculture gets created, right? Because it's like, we're all going to the local, minor league hockey team, whatever, and it's like, what? Why are you guys? I would have never picked that. It's like, I don't know. It was some joke that, Susie said 3 weeks ago, and we've all decided that that's hilarious. And so you're like, okay, cool. If that's where we're going, then that sounds good to me, right? Do it, right? So I think encouraging those subcultures to form is really positive. And then I think on the keeping people tenacious, I think that, really and genuinely being open and honest with people about their lives, where they are in it, where they're going, what they want to be doing, what future they want here, genuinely asking. I think as managers, oftentimes we sort of go like, oh, I'm just going to kind of sit back here and hope that nobody comes in and brings up that they want a raise or they want a different job or they want this or they want that. And I don't want to engage with that because I don't know that I'm going to be able to deliver, versus just saying like, hey, look, I can't promise anything, but what do you want? Like, I'm going to broach the subject to you, right? God, just opening up that bridge is what keeps people engaged on a regular basis. Just knowing that there is a life conduit for them inside the organization is just so valuable, so I don't know.
It's hilarious how the different mindset between reactive and proactive. And this is a good story. This general manager in a railway, he comes up and he says, "Hey Martin, I need to talk to you about something." I said, "Okay, great." He's like, "I have an open door policy. I'm a good guy. I really am." And he was. And he says, "But nobody crosses my threshold. Like, all these problems are just not making it to my desk." And I said, "Okay, Mr. X, when was the last time you crossed somebody's threshold?" He's like, "What do you mean?" Like, when have you gone to somebody's office being proactive and say, "Hey, how you doing?
Right.
What's going on? How can I help?" "Oh, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to disrupt them." So he had good intentions, right? But his intentions his actions did not match his intentions. When you'd ask, "Hey, what do you think about Mr. X?" "Oh, he's always in his office." Okay, and so he doesn't really care. Well, he actually does care. He's not demonstrating it properly. So the listeners, listen really well to what Greg said about asking. Don't, just because you're the manager, and we manage systems and lead people, so you're a leader first and then you manage systems. And as a leader, it's important to go out and see your troops and your people and say, "Hey, how's it going?" Take some time off and when you're asking how you doing, really mean it. How you doing? Bring a pad, bring a paper. And people forget that that's the Kaizen. Gemba Kaizen means ground continuous improvement. If you leave the decision making to the ground level as much as you can, right, you're removing yourself, and therefore you're being more effective and efficient, therefore increasing profitability. Oh, shit. Oh, there's value in asking questions? People think, "Oh, there's soft skills." That's bullshit. Soft skills are just human skills. And human skills mean that if I can increase morale, what is morale? Morale is the willingness for somebody to achieve, or a person or a group of person to achieve an objective. So if I can bring morale up, means that I don't care how many days they open up the door and ping pong balls are there. They will attack it, right? Because the morale is up. I know as an employee that the leadership team has got my back. And I think the only way to demonstrate that is to actually be proactive. So what you said, Greg, about going out there and asking questions.
You actually have to have their back,
critical.
Right? You have to have their back in every sense of the word, right? You really do. You need to show up and you need to say, "Hey, how's it going?" Right? If you want them to be there and be tenacious for you, right? You need to show up and you need to say, "How's it going? What's going on? How can I help you?" Right? But I think I have one other little tidbit I wanted to add. I thought that the whole story of crossing the threshold is just so spot on, right? Because I think, well, I told everybody, if they want to talk to me about anything, then, they should have just gone. I can't believe why they didn't come and tell me anything. It's like, are you kidding me? The last thing somebody wants to do is go and talk to their boss, right? They're like, people, it's like that movie Office Space, right? Like, people are just doing the bare minimum to not get fired, right? So like, they're not coming in trying to inspire up, right? That's not how this works, right? And so, and another piece that I would be remiss if I didn't add this is, when you go to talk to somebody else as a leader, right? When you go to talk to somebody inside your organization, be very cognizant of what that means, right? Because I got this lesson actually from my neighbor who works in finance, and he's like, "Yeah, man, if the boss walks in the door, I'm immediately on edge. I'm immediately like, have I done something wrong? Just the presence of you being there. You have to remember this framing and dynamic is people, that is ingrained in them, right? So you really have to think about how you approach people when you approach people. Don't approach somebody when they're feverishly working on something and they've got another supervisor there that wants them to be feverishly working on. So, you just have to be very mindful of the headspace of the person that you're approaching, the setting that they're in, whether there are peers around or not around. And so it's even more than just, oh, I know I need to go pop down onto the warehouse floor and say, how's it going, Ricky? How's it going, Susie? How's it going, Bob? Like, yeah, you do need to do this, but that can't just become this like procedural, I just pop in and do that. Because then two things. One, you're not actually being genuine. You're just doing it because you think it's a to-do, right? Mm-hmm. And two, you're going to end up interacting with people in the times and spaces that aren't great and aren't appropriate anyway. So you have to be just really
Agreed.
Intentional and really human. Right? And realize that everybody is just another human and we're all just spinning around on this rock together. And, they've got wants and needs and all sorts of stuff you have no idea about. Right? And stay human.
It happened to me at our last quarter. And for me, it was a guy who prides himself on his ability to be a excellent leader, drew or put get shit done, our core value, on the kryptonite side of things, where I was having relationships with employees in a way for special projects that were not intentional. I was just getting shit done. And I had forgotten that as the managing partner, my words have a bigger impact on the day-to-day operation. So when Martin said that, well, hold on a second. Why did I bypass? Oh, because I wanted to get shit done. I was like, no. And between me and my integrator, between me and my COO, if you want to call it that, we had a conversation and he said, Martin, you need to, I said, absolutely. I was so much that tenacious mindset of just, okay, we've got 3 big projects, 3 big deals. We need to get them done. And I had forgotten I was so worried about getting shit done that I had forgotten the people in the process. So it happens to all of us, no matter how much experience you have. As soon as you let go of take your fingers off the pulse and start putting your head down, you lose sight of where you need to go.
It's so true. So the good news, though, is, and I'll say, like, the most valuable thing you can do is self-reflect. And when you realize you've done that, there is literally nothing more powerful in this universe than going back the next day and just eating humble pie, right? And saying, hey, look, I screwed this up, right? I see you. I heard you. You were right. I made a mistake. All that stuff is like, whoa, really? Oh my God. I'm like so galvanized with you now. Like, thank you. Nobody ever comes and like acknowledges when they were a little bit, it's one thing to recognize it for yourself and say, okay, I got to get better next time. I'll be sure not to do that again next time. But that's a missed opportunity. The real opportunity is to go back and articulate to everybody, hey, I've grown. I screwed up. We're human. You're going to screw up too. This is the shared consciousness here, right? Like, it's all good, right? And I think that just goes so far in building trust and so.
Oh, and building your leadership. You said it right, to build trust, right? How do you influence? So leadership is about influencing people to make choices that benefit both them and you. That's what leadership is. Or how my wife calls it, manipulation. So he's like, don't do that behavioral leadership thing with me, sir. Well, really, how do you feel about that, Tracy? What should I be? He's like, stop the questions. Okay, sorry. What else should I be asking? She's like, stop. And I get in trouble. The only thing that I am afraid of in this life is my daughter. My wife and my daughter. So my wife and then my daughter is getting to be like her mom. It's pretty funny. So I was like, oh, 2 things I'm afraid in life. Both of you live in the same house as I do.
I live with my fears. Yeah.
So I live with fear every day.
That's pretty funny.
Greg, what is the material of choice? What is the one thing that you refer to? Is it it could be a saying, it could be a book, it could be a movie. I'll give you an example. When it comes time to leadership, for me, Master and Commander is the movie. There's so many life lessons for me, leadership wise, in that movie that I really attach operational leadership to. Okay. So that when I talk about that, that's the reference that I have. What is your reference when we talk about tenacity? Or even on day-to-day job, what is the kind of the book, the reference, the movie that is on your desk that you go, oh, this is my go-to thing?
Well, I'm going to go a little bit off script here because I feel like this is it's just topical, and I've got to say it right now. What I turn to and what I reference is the president of Ukraine right now when it comes to leadership. I mean, nothing. I don't think I haven't witnessed a leader like that in my lifetime. Right, as far as the skills that he's exhibited and what and how the world has rallied behind Ukraine in ways that the world has never rallied behind a country, right? I look at that and I just I see the way he speaks. I see the humility and everything else that he brings, the determination, the steadfast. It's just so exemplary. It's horrible that it's these circumstances by which he's having to lead under, right? That's nobody should be asked to do that. But I've just been really inspired by his leadership, right? And I think watching that is in a small way, lessons that we can take into our dailies. And I think also, just to tie it back to tenacity, it's kind of like, like I said earlier, looking back at horrible moments and going like, well, of course I can get through this because this isn't horrible, right? So when you're thinking about, wavering from things, think about that leadership, right? Think about the leadership that's required to have your countrymen stand up every day and literally go to war for you, right? And that's tenacity, right? That's really what it is.
Full circle. End of conversation. I could not have said that better myself. I think I agree. Great representation of tenacity. Wow. With that said, Greg, thank you so very much for being on the show. I think you and I can chat for another 2 hours.
This has been a lot of fun, Martin. This has been a lot of fun.
So yeah, thank you very much for being on the show. Great. With that being said, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. I'm getting better at my marketing material. And want to thank all the listeners. So thank you very much to all the listeners and people who are watching. My name is Martin Hunter. I am the host of What CEOs Talk About, where we translate strategy into frontline operations. Thank you very much, and hear us out at the next episode. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to What CEOs Talk About. Make sure to click subscribe to get notified about future episodes, or check us out at www.whatceostalkabout.com.